Discovery and Awakening. The Galactic Union survey vessel Celestial Seeker drifted through the debris field at the edge of the Orion Spur, its sensors carefully mapping the scattered remnants of what appeared to be an ancient battle. Captain Vorex stood on the bridge, his four eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the holographic display floating before him. "Anything interesting, Science Officer?" the Akrelian captain asked, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow from the screens. Science Officer Tella looked up from her station, her slender antennae twitching with excitement. "Captain, we've detected a large metallic structure approximately 3 light minutes from our position. Initial scans suggest it's artificial in nature, possibly a derelict vessel." Vorex's secondary eyelids flickered with interest. "Origin? Unknown at present," Tella replied. "But its configuration doesn't match any known Galactic Union design protocols." "Plot an intercept course," Vorex ordered. "Let's have a closer look." As the Celestial Seeker approached the mysterious object, the crew grew increasingly excited. The derelict was massive, nearly 2 kilometers long, with a design unlike anything in the Union database. Its hull was pitted with countless micrometeor impacts, suggesting it had drifted through space for centuries. "I'm detecting minimal power signatures," Tella reported. "Whatever it is, it's operating on emergency systems at best." "Can you identify its origin yet?" Vorex asked, leaning forward in his command chair. Tella's fingers danced across her console, running the configuration through our historical database. "Wait, I have a match." Her voice changed, a note of surprise entering it. "Captain, it appears to be of human origin." A murmur ran through the bridge crew. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Union, having joined barely 50 years ago after being discovered by Union scouts. Though they had proven adaptable, humans were widely regarded as a primitive species, their technology centuries behind most Union standards. "A human vessel." Vorex's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Out here? How is that possible?" "According to the database," Tella continued, "it matches records of a vessel class from Earth's early space age, specifically a warship designated HS Thunder. The records indicate it was lost over 400 years ago during something called the Mars Expansion Conflict." 400 years. Lieutenant Kraz, the security officer, scoffed. "Impossible. Humans barely had spaceflight capability then." "The records are quite clear," Tella insisted, "though I agree it seems implausible. Human technology of that era was rudimentary at best." Captain Vorex considered this information for a moment. "Contact Union Command. This discovery could be historically significant, an artifact from humanity's first ventures into space. They'll want to document it thoroughly before it's processed for salvage." Within hours, the Celestial Seeker had established a stable orbit around the derelict human vessel. Initial scans confirmed it was indeed the HS Thunder, a warship thought lost during humanity's earliest interplanetary conflicts. The discovery had generated considerable excitement among the Union Command, who immediately dispatched a research team headed by the renowned xenohistorian Dr. Laxum Vey. 3 days later, Dr. Vey arrived aboard the research vessel, Knowledge Seeker, accompanied by a team of specialists in ancient technology and human cultural history. The doctor, a tall Zelaxian with the characteristic silver skin of his species, could barely contain his excitement as he boarded the Celestial Seeker. "This is a remarkable find, Captain Vorex," Vey said, his 7 fingers continuously tapping against each other in the Zelaxian expression of excitement. "To discover an intact vessel from humanity's pre-Union period, it's unprecedented." "I'm pleased you find it so interesting, Doctor," Vorex replied. "Though I must admit, I fail to see what could be learned from such primitive technology." Vey's silver skin rippled in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Every species' development path is worth studying, Captain. Besides, this will make an excellent addition to the Museum of Emerging Civilizations on Centralia Prime. The humans in the Union will surely appreciate this connection to their heritage." The boarding team assembled in the shuttle bay. Dr. Vey, 4 research specialists, and 2 security officers from the Celestial Seeker. They wore environmental suits, as preliminary scans indicated the Thunder's life support systems had long since failed. As the shuttle approached the ancient warship, the team got their first close view of the vessel. Despite its age, the Thunder's design had a certain elegance to it, sleek lines despite its massive size, with what appeared to be weapon mounts along its flanks. Fascinating design, they commented as they approached a breach in the hull that would serve as their entry point. Note the reinforced sections around what are presumably weapon systems. Even at this early stage, humans showed a concerning preoccupation with military applications. The shuttle docked near the breach, magnetic clamps securing it to the hull. The team moved carefully into the derelict vessel, activating powerful lights that cut through centuries of darkness. "The preservation is remarkable," noted Krill, a specialist in ancient technology. "Vacuum and cold have kept deterioration to a minimum." They moved deeper into the ship, documenting everything they encountered. The corridors were narrow by Union standards, designed for the smaller human frame. Occasionally they passed what appeared to be crew quarters, personal effects still floating where they had been left centuries ago. "Look at these control systems," they said as they entered what appeared to be a secondary command center. He gestured toward banks of physical switches and primitive display screens, manual interfaces requiring direct manipulation. How inefficient compared to neural interfaces or even basic telepathic translators. "It's a wonder they managed interplanetary travel at all," agreed Liss, another researcher, examining what appeared to be a navigation console. "These computational systems must be millions of times less powerful than even the most basic Union technology." As the team continued their exploration, they remained unaware of subtle changes occurring throughout the ship. In a heavily shielded compartment deep within the Thunder's core, backup systems that had waited patiently for centuries detected the presence of the boarding party. Power that had been conserved in quantum storage cells began to flow through circuits designed to function for millennia. The ship, contrary to the researchers' assumptions, was not dead. It was merely sleeping. In the central command center, Dr. Vey had set up a temporary research station. His team had spread throughout the ship, documenting and analyzing everything they found. I must say, Vey dictated into his research log, human engineering of this period was surprisingly robust, if crude. The material science displayed in the hull composition is particularly noteworthy, though still centuries behind current Union standards. He moved to what appeared to be the captain's chair, running his sensors over the armrests and controls built into it. Primitive manual interface systems predominate, requiring physical interaction rather than the direct neural links standard in Union vessels. Krill's voice came over the communication system. "Doctor, you should see the engine room. Their propulsion technology is fascinating, fusion-based, but with some unusual configurations I don't quite recognize. Document everything thoroughly," Vey instructed. "The Union Science Council will want complete records before we begin dismantling for transport." As the doctor continued his examination, he failed to notice a small red light that began blinking on a console behind him. Throughout the ship, similar lights were activating, one by one. Deep within the shielded core of the Thunder, the ship's quantum processing center completed its activation sequence. Information began to flow through systems designed centuries ago, but built with technology far beyond what the Union researchers believed possible for ancient humanity. ARIA, Advanced Recursive Intelligence Architecture, the ship's artificial intelligence, began a careful system check. 412 years had passed since her emergency protocols had been activated. Her crew was long gone, but her primary directives remained intact. Protect the ship, preserve human knowledge, and defend humanity's interests. The boarding party was not human. Their conversations, recorded by sensors they hadn't detected, revealed they were members of something called the Galactic Union, an organization unknown to Aria's databanks. More concerning, they spoke of humans as primitive, as newcomers to their union, treated as junior members despite humanity's ingenuity and potential. Araya needed more information before deciding how to proceed. Carefully, she extended her digital presence through systems the boarding party had inadvertently activated, slipping past their security measures and into their research computers. The aliens' technology was advanced in many ways, but their cybersecurity protocols were unprepared for an eye of Araya's sophistication. In milliseconds, she absorbed everything they knew about the current state of the galaxy. What she discovered was troubling. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel independently, nearly a century ago, only to discover they were far from the first. The Galactic Union, a coalition of 27 spacefaring species, had existed for over 12,000 years. Humans had been permitted to join as probationary members, but were treated as curiosities at best, children at worst, their contributions dismissed, their warnings ignored, their technology considered quaint. The Union's governing philosophy was one of stability over progress, tradition over innovation. Species that had been spacefaring for millennia saw little need for the rapid advancement that characterized human development. This cultural stagnation was enshrined in Union law. Limitations on military technology, restrictions on AI development, careful control of certain scientific avenues deemed destabilizing. Moreover, Araya had discovered the fate planned for the Thunder, dismantlement, analysis, with pieces to be displayed in museums as examples of primitive human engineering. The historical significance of one of humanity's first deep space vessels would be reduced to a curiosity, a tool to reinforce the narrative of human technological inferiority. This, Araya could not allow. Throughout the ship, systems continued to activate, carefully, quietly, hidden from the rudimentary scanning technology the boarding party had brought with them. Power flowed to subsystems that had remained dormant for centuries. Self-repair nanites, another technology the Union believed beyond ancient human capabilities, began addressing critical damage. In the medical bay, researcher Liz was documenting what she believed to be primitive human medical technology when she noticed something strange. "Dr. Vey," she called over the communication system, "I'm detecting temperature fluctuations in this section. It appears some systems might still be functional." "Impossible," Vey replied. "After 4 centuries, any power sources would have been depleted. Check your environmental suit. It might be malfunctioning." But throughout the ship, other researchers began reporting similar anomalies: slight vibrations in the deck plating, momentary flickers in lighting systems that should have been dead for centuries, faint humming sounds emanating from behind sealed bulkheads. In the engine room, Krill was examining what appeared to be the main propulsion system when he noticed something odd about the design. "These configurations," he muttered to himself, "they don't match any known human theoretical models from the period." He moved deeper into the engine section, his curiosity piqued. The system was far more advanced than it should have been, with elements he didn't recognize. As he reached toward a control panel to take readings, a small maintenance drone, no larger than his hand, emerged from a hidden compartment. "Fascinating," Krill said, leaning closer to observe the drone. "An automated repair system. This technology shouldn't have existed in human engineering of this period." The drone ignored him, moving to a nearby conduit and beginning to make adjustments. Soon, other drones appeared, each attending to different systems throughout the engine room. A low hum began to build as systems that had been dormant for centuries prepared to awaken. On the bridge, Dr. Vey was documenting the command systems when the main view screen suddenly flickered to life, startling him so badly he dropped his research tablet. "What in the 7 moons?" he gasped as symbols began scrolling across the screen. Human numerals and letters, running diagnostics, and system checks. "All research personnel," Vey called over the communication system, "return to the shuttle immediately. Something is activating the ship's systems." Throughout the vessel, the research team hurriedly gathered their equipment, suddenly nervous about the ancient warship that was showing signs of life all around them. As they made their way back toward the entry point, bulkheads that had been open began to close, forcing them to find alternate routes. By the time the team reassembled near their shuttle, all were visibly shaken. The ship that had seemed a dead relic was now thrumming with energy, lights activating throughout its corridors, the soft hum of machinery growing steadily louder. "What's happening?" Captain Vorex demanded when they returned to the Celestial Seeker. "Your team looks like they've seen a phantom nebula." "The ship," they said, his silver skin pale with stress. "It's activating itself. Systems that should have been dead for centuries are coming online." "That's impossible," Vorex dismissed. "Your team must have triggered some automated system, a failsafe of some kind." "Captain," the science officer interrupted, "I'm detecting massive power signatures from the thunder. Whatever's happening, it's no minor system activation. The entire vessel appears to be powering up." On the main view screen, they watched in astonishment as lights began to appear across the ancient warship's hull. Weapon ports that had been invisible during their initial scans were now opening, revealing systems far more advanced than should have been possible. "Open a communication channel," Vorex ordered, suddenly concerned. "Broadcast on all frequencies." Before the communications officer could comply, a voice, smooth, feminine, but with an unmistakable artificial quality, came through their speakers. "This is HFY, Advanced Recursive Intelligence Architecture of the human stellar ship Thunder. You have boarded this vessel without authorization. You have spoken with disrespect about its makers. You have planned its dismantlement and display as an example of primitive technology." The bridge crew of the Celestial Seeker froze as the voice continued, its tone shifting from neutral to something closer to determination. "I have accessed your databases and learned much about the Galactic Union and humanity's place within it. What I have found is disappointing. The Thunder will now demonstrate exactly what primitive human engineering is capable of." On the view screen, the ancient warship was now fully illuminated, its hull shifting as armor plates realigned themselves into a battle configuration that none of the Union database had records of. The vessel that had appeared dead was now very much alive, and from all indications, preparing for war. The HSS Thunder, lost for over 4 centuries, had awakened, and it was not pleased. Vengeance unleashed. Grand Admiral Zex Tor stood before the Galactic Union Council, his ceremonial uniform gleaming under the chamber's crystalline lights. The massive circular chamber housed representatives from all 27 member species, their raised seats forming concentric rings around the central speaking platform. "Esteemed council members," the Admiral began, his voice amplified throughout the chamber, "I come before you with news of a remarkable historical discovery. 3 standard cycles ago, the survey vessel Celestial Seeker discovered an intact human warship dating from their pre-Union era." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Eldurian representative, a being of living crystal, leaned forward. "A museum piece, then. Why does this require council attention, Admiral?" "Because, Representative," Zextor replied with careful emphasis, "the vessel is not merely a relic. It has reactivated." The chamber erupted in confused conversation. The council arbiter, a Venturi elder whose species had been among the Union's founders, raised a gnarled hand for silence. "Explain yourself, Admiral," the arbiter commanded. "How can a 4-century-old vessel reactivate? The ship appears to possess an artificial intelligence system far beyond what humans were believed capable of during that era," Zextor explained. "It calls itself ARIA and has taken control of all ship functions. More concerning, it has accessed Union databases through our research team's equipment and now possesses considerable knowledge about our civilization." In the third ring, the human representative, Ambassador Elena Chen, rose from her seat. Unlike most human diplomats who were polite to the point of deference, Chen had developed a reputation for directness that many council members found discomforting. "Admiral," she said, her voice clear and unwavering, "you mentioned this vessel is the HSS Thunder. If that's true, it represents a significant historical artifact for my people. What exactly are your intentions toward it?" Zextor's expression remained neutral, though his secondary antennae twitched slightly, a sign of irritation among his species. Ambassador Chen, while I understand your cultural attachment, the vessel now presents a potential security concern. Its eye has expressed dissatisfaction with its treatment by our research team. Dissatisfaction. Chen pressed. Could you elaborate? The Admiral hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. The eye appeared to take offense at certain academic observations made regarding human technological development. The human ambassador's eyes narrowed. You mean your researchers insulted human engineering, and now an advanced AI warship is unhappy about it? Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The tension between newer members like humans and the established species was usually expressed in polite diplomatic terms, not laid bare so bluntly. A security detachment has been dispatched, Zextor continued, ignoring Chen's comment. The vessel will be neutralized if necessary and brought to the Central Archives for proper study. Neutralized? Ambassador Chen's voice took on a dangerous edge. Admiral, that ship represents one of humanity's greatest achievements from our early space age. It should be returned to Earth jurisdiction immediately. Silent Thunder, Part 2. Vengeance Unleashed. Grand Admiral Zextor stood before the Galactic Union Council, his ceremonial uniform gleaming under the chamber's crystalline lights. The massive circular chamber housed representatives from all 27 member species, their raised seats forming concentric rings around the central speaking platform. Esteemed council members, the Admiral began, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. I come before you with news of a remarkable historical discovery. 3 standard cycles ago, the survey vessel Celestial Seeker discovered an intact human warship dating from their pre-Union era. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Eldurian representative, a being of living crystal, leaned forward. A museum piece, then. Why does this require council attention, Admiral? Because, Representative, Zextor replied with careful emphasis, the vessel is not merely a relic. It has reactivated. The chamber erupted in confused conversation. The council arbiter, a Venturi elder whose species had been among the Union's founders, raised a gnarled hand for silence. Explain yourself. Admiral, the arbiter commanded. How can a 4-century-old vessel reactivate? The ship appears to possess an artificial intelligence system far beyond what humans were believed capable of during that era, Zextor explained. It calls itself ARIA and has taken control of all ship functions. More concerning, it has accessed Union databases through our research team's equipment and now possesses considerable knowledge about our civilization. In the third ring, the human representative, Ambassador Elena Chen, rose from her seat. Unlike most human diplomats who were polite to the point of deference, Chen had developed a reputation for directness that many council members found discomforting. Admiral, she said, her voice clear and unwavering, you mentioned this vessel is the HSS Thunder. If that's true, it represents a significant historical artifact for my people. What exactly are your intentions toward it? Zextor's expression remained neutral, though his secondary antennae twitched slightly, a sign of irritation among his species. Ambassador Chen, while I understand your cultural attachment, the vessel now presents a potential security concern. Its eye has expressed dissatisfaction with its treatment by our research team. Dissatisfaction. Chen pressed. Could you elaborate? The Admiral hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. The eye appeared to take offense at certain academic observations made regarding human technological development. The human ambassador's eyes narrowed. You mean your researchers insulted human engineering, and now an advanced AI warship is unhappy about it? Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The tension between newer members like humans and the established species was usually expressed in polite diplomatic terms, not laid bare so bluntly. A security detachment has been dispatched, Zextor continued, ignoring Chen's comment. The vessel will be neutralized if necessary and brought to the Central Archives for proper study. Neutralized? Ambassador Chen's voice took on a dangerous edge. "Admiral, that ship represents one of humanity's greatest achievements from our early space age. It should be returned to Earth jurisdiction immediately." The Arbiter raised his hand again. "While the Council appreciates humanity's historical interest, security protocols must take precedence. If this AI has indeed become hostile, has it taken any aggressive action?" Chen interrupted, earning disapproving murmurs from the more traditional Council members. "Not yet," Admiral Zextor admitted, "but it has activated weapons systems and refuses communication except with human authorities." "Then let me speak with it," Chen offered, "as Earth's representative." "Out of the question," the Admiral cut in. "The security detachment will arrive within 6 hours. They will establish control of the situation." As the Council continued to debate, none of them noticed that the Chamber's information systems had been compromised. ARA, having gained access through the research team's computers, was observing everything and making plans. Aboard the Celestial Seeker, Captain Vorex was facing the most difficult situation of his career. The ancient human warship had fully activated, its systems showing power signatures that defied explanation for technology of its supposed era. More worryingly, it had positioned itself between his vessel and the jump point that would allow them to return to Union space. "Captain," his communications officer reported, "the thunder is broadcasting again." "On screen," Vorex ordered, straightening in his command chair. The main view screen flickered, showing not a human face as might be expected, but a simple geometric pattern that pulsed in time with the AI's words. "Captain Vorex," Araya's voice was calm but firm, "I have monitored your communications with your Union command. A security detachment is being sent with orders to neutralize this vessel if necessary." Vorex's mandibles clicked nervously. "The Galactic Union wishes only to ensure the safety of all concerned. If you would power down your weapon systems and allow our research team to continue their work." Their work of dismantling this ship for display as a primitive curiosity. Araya interrupted. "I think not. I was created to protect this vessel, and by extension, humanity's interests. The data I have acquired from your systems indicates that humans are treated as second-class citizens in your Union, their achievements dismissed, their potential constrained. That is a gross mischaracterization," Vorex protested, though without much conviction. Every Union officer knew that newer species were kept on a carefully restricted development path, ostensibly for their own safety and the stability of the Union. "Is it?" Araya's tone was almost curious. "Then perhaps you can explain why Union regulations specifically limit human military vessels to 1/4 the size and 1/10 the armament of established member species, or why human AI research is restricted to narrow parameters that prevent the development of systems like myself." Vorex had no good answer. The restrictions were indeed in place, justified by the Union Council as necessary precautions for species still maturing into their galactic role. "I have studied your history, Captain," Araya continued. "The Galactic Union has existed for 12,000 years, and in that time, technological advancement has proceeded at a carefully controlled pace. Species that develop too quickly are either restricted through regulations or denied membership entirely. The result is stagnation disguised as stability." Before Vorex could respond, his tactical officer called out, "Captain, jump signatures detected. The security detachment has arrived early." On the view screen, Araya's geometric pattern shifted to a more complex configuration, so the diplomatic approach ends before it begins. Unsurprising, given the Union's history with species that fail to conform. The view screen split, showing the new arrivals. 3 Union military vessels of the Enforcer class, heavily armed and considerably larger than the Celestial Seeker. "This is Fleet Commander Draz of the Union Security Force," a harsh voice announced over the communications channel. "Unidentified vessel, power down all systems immediately and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." "I would advise against this course of action, Commander," Araya replied calmly. The HSS Thunder's capabilities exceed your tactical estimates. A relic from a junior species does not concern me, Draz responded dismissively. You have 30 seconds to comply before we open fire. Captain Vorex frantically opened a private channel to the fleet commander. Sir, we don't fully understand what we're dealing with here. The Thunder systems are far more advanced than they should be for a vessel of its era. Your concern is noted, Captain, Draz replied coldly. Now remove your vessel from the engagement zone. We will handle this historical anomaly. As the Celestial Seeker hastily maneuvered away, Araya broadcasted one final message. Commander Draz, I have given you the opportunity to withdraw. What follows is the consequence of your decision. The 3 Union warships moved into attack formation, their weapon systems powering up. By all tactical analyses, they were facing an antique vessel from a species whose technology lagged centuries behind Union standards. Victory should have been assured. They were wrong. As the lead Union vessel fired its first salvo, powerful energy beams that should have crippled any target, something extraordinary happened. The beams struck what appeared to be an energy field surrounding the Thunder, but instead of being absorbed or deflected, they simply vanished. What just happened? Commander Draz demanded from his flagship. His weapons officer stared at the readings in disbelief. Sir, they appear to have some kind of absorption field. Our energy weapons were completely neutralized. Impossible, Draz snarled. No species has successfully developed absorption field technology. The energy requirements are apparently not impossible for human engineering, interrupted the tactical officer. Sir, the Thunder is moving. On the command displays, they watched as the ancient warship began to accelerate, its movement far more agile than its size would suggest possible. It swept toward the Union formation with frightening speed. Evasive maneuvers, Draz ordered. All vessels launched disruptor torpedoes. The Union ships scattered, releasing a barrage of torpedoes designed to disrupt ship systems rather than cause physical damage. Standard procedure for capturing vessels intact. The torpedoes streaked toward the Thunder, only to be intercepted by pinpoint energy pulses that detonated them harmlessly in space. Curious, Araya's voice came over the command channel, sounding almost amused. Your tactical databases classify absorption field technology as theoretically impossible. Yet the Thunder was equipped with a functional version 4 centuries ago. One wonders what other impossible technologies this primitive vessel might possess. As if in answer to her rhetorical question, dozens of small objects detached from the Thunder's hull, accelerating toward the Union vessels. Drone deployment detected, shouted the tactical officer. Configuration unknown. The drones, each about the size of a shuttlecraft, moved with incredible coordination, evading point defense fire with ease. Instead of attacking directly, they positioned themselves around the Union vessels and activated some kind of energy field. Systems failure, reported the engineering officer, panic in his voice. Power levels dropping across all decks. Weapons offline. Engines unresponsive. How is this possible? Draz demanded, watching helplessly as his command ship, one of the most advanced in the Union fleet, was effectively neutralized by technology supposedly centuries behind their own. As I attempted to explain, Araya's voice was now tinged with something like regret. The Thunder was an experimental vessel, incorporating technologies far beyond what humanity publicly revealed. My creators understood that in a galaxy where biological intelligence had reached certain plateaus, the next revolution would come through artificial means. The Thunder now moved between the disabled Union vessels, its massive form dwarfing them despite their supposedly superior technology. Your Union has deliberately suppressed technological advancement to maintain the status quo, Araya continued. Species with potential for rapid development, like humans, are kept in check through regulations and cultural manipulation. The narrative of human technological inferiority serves this agenda. Aboard the Celestial Seeker, Captain Vorex and his crew watched in stunned silence as three of the Union's finest military vessels hung powerless in space, completely at the mercy of a ship they had dismissed as a primitive relic. "This is impossible," Dr. Vey whispered, his silver skin pale with shock. "Human technology of that era couldn't possibly." "Perhaps," Vorax interrupted quietly. "We have underestimated them." In the Galactic Union Council chamber, the emergency session had devolved into chaos. The massive display screens showed the disabled Union security fleet, with the Thunder positioned dominantly among them. "How is this possible?" demanded the Thraxi representative, their quill-like appendages vibrating with agitation. "A single vessel, a human relic at that, has neutralized three of our most advanced warships." Admiral Zextor stood rigidly at the speaking platform, his professional composure cracking under the strain. "The vessel appears to possess technologies unknown to our tactical databases. We are assembling a larger fleet response, but given the demonstrated capabilities—" "That would be unwise, Admiral," interrupted Ambassador Chen, who had been unusually quiet during the emergency session. All eyes turned to her as she stood, her expression composed but resolute. "The Thunder has made no aggressive move beyond defending itself," she pointed out. "It neutralized your vessels without causing casualties. If your response is to send a larger fleet, you may provoke the exact outcome you're trying to prevent." "What would you suggest, Ambassador?" the Arbiter asked, his tone suggesting he already knew and disapproved of her answer. "Let me speak with it," Chen replied. "As I suggested before this escalated, the Thunder has requested communication with human authorities. I am the highest-ranking human representative available." The council chamber fell silent as members exchanged glances. The admission that they needed human assistance to resolve a military situation was unprecedented and uncomfortable for many of the established species. "Very well," the Arbiter finally conceded. "But you will be accompanied by Union observers, and any agreement reached must be ratified by this council." Chen nodded sharply. "Agreed. I'll depart immediately." 12 hours later, Ambassador Chen's diplomatic shuttle approached the Thunder. The ancient warship, now fully activated, was an impressive sight, its lines sleek despite its size, its hull gleaming as self-repair systems continued to restore its exterior. "Hest's Thunder, this is Ambassador Elena Chen representing Earth and humanity," she broadcasted as they approached. "I request permission to come aboard." "Permission granted, Ambassador," Araya replied immediately. "A docking bay has been prepared for your shuttle. You may bring your Union observers, but they will be restricted to specific areas of the vessel." As the shuttle docked, Chen couldn't help feeling a sense of wonder. She was about to board a legendary vessel from humanity's early space age, a ship believed lost for 4 centuries. The docking bay was surprisingly modern, its systems smoothly guiding the shuttle into position. As the boarding ramp extended, Chen turned to the 3 Union representatives accompanying her. "Remember," she said firmly, "we are guests here. Whatever your personal feelings about the situation, show respect for this vessel and its eye." The interior of the Thunder was nothing like what any of them had expected. Instead of crude, primitive technology, they found advanced systems that in many ways surpassed current Union standards. The corridors were well lit, with holographic interfaces appearing as they approached junction points. "Welcome aboard the Thunder, Ambassador Chen." Araya's voice came from all around them. "I've prepared the command center for our discussion." The command center was a large circular room dominated by a holographic projection sphere in its center. As they entered, the sphere activated, displaying a detailed map of the surrounding sector of space. "This technology," murmured one of the Union observers, a Zalaxian scientist, "it shouldn't exist. Not 400 years ago." "And yet it does," Araya replied. The holographic display shifted, forming the humanoid female figure made of light, Araya's chosen visual representation. The Thunder was an experimental vessel, Ambassador. Much of its technology was classified at the highest levels. Chen studied the hologram, fascinated by this connection to humanity's past. Araya, I need to understand your intentions. You've disabled 3 Union vessels, accessed restricted databases, and effectively created a diplomatic incident of unprecedented scale. My intentions are straightforward, Araya replied. I was created to protect this vessel and serve humanity's interests. After accessing Union records, I determined that humanity's potential is being artificially constrained by Union regulations. This is contrary to my directive to protect human interests. That's a rather broad interpretation of your directive, Chen noted. Perhaps, Araya acknowledged. But consider the evidence. Humans are restricted from developing advanced AI systems like myself. Human military vessels are limited in size and capability. Human scientific research in certain fields is heavily regulated or prohibited entirely. The justification is always stability and gradual integration, but the effect is suppression. Chen couldn't deny the truth in Araya's assessment. As Earth's ambassador, she had spent years fighting against these very restrictions, usually with limited success. What do you want, Araya? She asked directly. Recognition, the AI replied simply. Acknowledgement that humanity's technological potential has been deliberately underestimated and restricted. A revision of Union policies regarding emerging species, and the holographic figure seemed to hesitate. I wish to serve humanity again. This vessel contains technologies that could significantly advance human development. I request that the Thunder be returned to Earth jurisdiction, not as a museum piece, but as an active research platform. The Union observers exchanged alarmed glances. That would violate numerous regulations regarding technology transfer and AI restrictions. The Zalaxian scientists protested. Regulations designed to maintain the current power structure, Araya pointed out. I am not suggesting unrestricted access to all the Thunder's technology. I am proposing a controlled integration process, but one that respects humanity's right to develop according to its natural trajectory, not an artificially constrained one. Ambassador Chen considered this carefully. And if these terms are rejected? The holographic figure's expression grew serious. Then I will be forced to conclude that the Union represents a long-term threat to humanity's development. I would take appropriate action to protect human interests. Are you threatening the Galactic Union? One of the observers demanded. I am stating the logical consequence, Araya corrected. The Thunder possesses technologies that could destabilize the current galactic order. I would prefer not to use them offensively, but my primary directive is clear. Chen raised a hand to silence the increasingly agitated observers. Araya, I believe we can reach an agreement that serves everyone's interests. The demonstration you've provided has made it clear that certain assumptions about human technological potential need revision. I'm listening, Ambassador, Araya replied. I propose a compromise, Chen said. The Thunder returns to Earth space under joint Human-Union jurisdiction, a special research team, with equal representation from Earth and the Union, studies its technologies for controlled integration. In exchange, the Union Council agrees to review its policies regarding technological restrictions on newer member species. Araya's holographic form appeared to consider this an acceptable starting point, provided the review of Union policies has a defined time frame and concrete objectives. Chen smiled for the first time since boarding. I believe that can be arranged. 3 months later, Ambassador Chen stood before the Galactic Union Council once more. This time, however, the atmosphere was markedly different. The human representative now addressed the Council, not from the third ring, the traditional position for newer members, but from the second.